other Kiran sir.
Yes, sir. Okay. We have to wait or everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. And the topic is Docker. So, thank you everyone for joining us for today's webinar. And I would like to introduce our presenter, that is Mr. Davai Jaldi. He is an senior software engineer at Capgemini and having experience of more than 9 years. And his main area, that is main software skills, are like Java, Hibernate, Spring, and Servlet, that JavaScript. So all these are the software skills of Mr. David Jaldi. And today he will present us with a new topic, that is Docker, which is also related to Java language. So I would like to hand over to David sir that start our topic, that is Docker. Yes, David sir.
Okay. Thank you, sir, for giving me the opportunity and giving the introduction about me. Hello, friends. So today, as part of our webinar, we are going to discuss about the Docker. So let's start the discussion. As part of today's agenda, what we are going to cover. So first of all, we are going to discuss about what is the Docker, introduction of the Docker and the container. After that, we are going to discuss what is the difference between the virtual machines and the containers. Then we are going to discuss about the Docker engine, architecture, images, Docker files, and the Docker different layers. At the end, we are going to discuss that what are the Docker commands through that we can implement the Docker. And at the end, there is an orchestration part, and in the last, we are going to discuss on the Q&A, question and answer session. Okay, so let's start. So before going to discuss on the Docker or making a deep dive into the Docker, first we need to understand that in today's IT world, why do we need a Docker? So suppose if I give you the example that let's consider that one developer wants to develop the web application. So if the developer wants to develop the web application, definitely it is going to use the Java or .NET. So I'm more comfortable on the Java. So let's assume that we on the backend side, we are using the Java. Now, this is a web application. So definitely we need to introduce some web frameworks as well as part of that application development. So assume that we are using a Spring framework. Obviously, this web application is going to communicate with the database. So we have some ORM frameworks. You can consider the JP or Hibernate frameworks that also you are introducing. And this is a web application, so there are some UI part as well, right? So we are going to introduce some UI framework as well, like say AngularJS or Node.js. So when you introduce this kind of frameworks in your application, then you need to add the dependency. So when I say dependency, it means that we are going to add some jars. So by adding the jars into our project, we can let's assume that the developers adding all the jars and completes the requirement based on the requirement given by the company. Right now, what in general IT companies, what basically we are following that whenever the developers develops any application, it delivers to the QA server. QA completes their quality checks. Once the quality is done, then we go for a performance testing or a UAT testing, and at the end the DevOps team will deploy that build into the production server. So now, as part of, we are also following that as part of our example. So suppose the developer develops the application and deliver to the QA. Now, when QA start doing the testing, at that time QA found so that a few of the functionality is not working. So that application is crashed, and QA saying that revert that build to the developer's machine. Now developers again sit at the local machine and verify that everything is working on my side. Everything is working properly. Whatever that functionality or the issues that QA has raised, that he or she cannot able to reproduce in the local machine. So what will be the possible root cause? How we can resolve this issue? So in that case, there might be the issue that the developer has developed the application using the different frameworks. Now, developer is adding the jar, but when delivering that build to the QA machine, at that time he or she missed to give some jars, or there may be a differ in the jar. It means that developers is using a, let's say, Spring framework. Developer is using the Spring framework, so it's using the 4.0 jar. But on a QA machine, it is a 3.0 jar. So there is a conflict of jar as well. Due to that, the functionality may not working. So in that case, the Docker will help. Okay, so this is a first use case. We are going to discuss how the Docker will help, but there are other use cases as well. So what will be that use case? Suppose developers sometimes in our development life cycle, sometimes we got the issues from the production as well, but we cannot replicate that issue in our local machine. So if we are not able to replicate that issue in our local machine, then we cannot provide the efficient or the permanent solution, right? So in that case, how do we resolve this problem? So in that case also the Docker will help. So now if we are saying that the Docker will help us, then how the Docker will help? Now we need to discuss on that part. So basically Docker will create the image. So first of all, you need to associate your application with the Docker. When you are associate your applications or configure your Docker in your applications, then Docker will create the image, and that image will be deployed on the different server. In our example, it is a development server, QA server, UAT server, or at the end the production server. So that end user or the live user will use that application, right? So the each and every environment having the same code, same build, so that we can resolve this issue. Now the question is, someone will say like, okay, that is done by the Docker, but there are some other technologies is also available in the market, through that we can resolve this issue. So what are those technologies? So one of the most prominent technology is virtual machine, right? So in a virtual machine, basically what we are doing, that virtual machines, we create a different virtual machines on the server. So when we are creating and deploy the application on that respective virtual machines. Now let's assume that on a one server, you are creating the multiple virtual machines. So when you are creating a virtual machine on a server, let's say 10 virtual machines that you have created. So you need to provide that resources to that virtual machine, each and every virtual machine, right? So that what are those resources? Means you need to provide OS. That means obviously that that has a virtual machine has some guest OS. So on that guest OS is there. So you need to provide your RAM. You need to provide your CPU cycles. You also need to provide the hard disk as well. So suppose it may possible that your application is required the 1 GB of RAM and you have given the 2 GB RAM. So there will be a wastage of the RAM. So you say how it will be wastage? Because when you are giving the RAM to your virtual machine, then your host OS will not utilize that because it is already allocated to the VM. So even if you are using, VM is using or not using, you cannot use that resources to your host OS. So that there is a wastage of resources. And nowadays it is very quite, I can say, costly as operations, means if you want to go with the VMs. So as a part of these solutions, when we are discussing about the Docker, in that case, we do not need to do anything extra and to servers. So how we are going to do this? How we can develop and create the applications and run the applications, that we are going to discuss on a later stage. So now we discuss. I also discuss like what we may covered on the later of the session. So just assume that the Docker has some image that deployed on the machine. Now if we are saying about the Docker and containers, So we need to understand what is the exact Docker. What do you mean by the Docker? So the Docker is a platform where you can build your application, test your application, and deploy your application at anywhere, right? So means what? Like Docker provide the platform as a service. So what do you mean by the platform as a service? Means Docker provide the platforms and that platforms you can create on anywhere, everywhere. It means that whether it is a Windows machine, whether it is a Linux machine, whether it is a Macintosh machines, so any operating system, any servers, you can create your platform, you can run your applications, right? So for that, what exactly you need to do? So the Docker will, whatever that whenever your application is associated with the Docker, so Docker will package everything required for basically required for to run your application on a different server. So what do you mean by the packaging? So the packaging means your code, your dependency. There are some application levels property. There are some system level properties, right? And some tools if you are associated with your application. So everything it will package and create the image. Now you are saying like if I use the word that the system level. What do you mean by the system level? Because in our application, sometimes we need to run some automated tools for to run and our application, right? So what kind of automated tools? Suppose if you are running your application on a predefined schedule time. So for that, if and your host OS is the Windows, right? Then you need to create the .bat file. But if you are running the same application on the Linux machine, right? So this kind of automated files also we need to be created sometimes for to based on our requirements. We need to create those SS files or the BAT files to run our applications. So that will also we can incorporate with the Dockers, right? So Docker will help you to run the your applications from the different environment, right? So now if you look at this slide, so in this slide, what this slide is saying, you can build your application, you can ship your applications from one computing environment to another computing environment. You can run anywhere, everywhere. So if you look at this example, that here is from the developer machines, developer develop the application, and whatever that application is or whatever that other application that you are integrate to your customized application, right, to create your customized application. So here the Java, .NET or any other frameworks, if you are introducing like the Hadoop or MySQL database or any other application, if you want to integrate, you can integrate that application, and from your host OS, whether it is a Windows or Linux, on top of that you can also include here the Macintosh. On top of that you can include your Docker framework and you can build your application. So build your applications means it will create the image. So once you create the image, you can run that application on everywhere, anywhere, right? On a physical machines, on a virtual or on the cloud as well. Okay. So now we discuss about the Docker. Now here is the container. So late 90s. So what do you mean by the container? Suppose if you look at the slides in earlier days, whether it is 80s or 90s, then any manufacturing company developed any product and they want to ship that product from one country to another country, then they are using the cargo. So when they are using the cargo, so it may possible then that product, right, it may theft or it may damage as well. And due to that, there is a massive loss in the price. And you know that due to that, we are not able to deliver the complete amount of product, complete quantity of the product to the end user, right? That we can resolve that issue at that. So what we have done, like instead of using container you can ship what the deliver from one countries to another countries, right? So that it will help to reduce the cost with the theft as well. There is no for the manufacturing industries when we are delivering the product using the containers. The same concept we are using in our tech. If you look at so the same concept we are using in our Docker world. So how the container works in the Docker. So if you look at this diagram or the image, in that image, at the bottom layer, there is an infrastructure. So what do you mean by the infrastructure? Suppose you can install the Docker in your local machine as well. So your local machine is your infrastructure. Consider in that way. In your infrastructure, there will be some host OS, whether it is a Windows or a Linux or the Macintosh. Now, on top of that, we install the Docker. There are multiple containers is running. Okay. So how so now still you have some doubt like how the image and the container is correlated. So if I give you the basic example that suppose if you class in the employee class you so means you creating the instance, it creating the object of that class. Agree? So once you create, let's say employee has an E1 object and methods of you are using the Docker in your applications, the Docker will create the image of your application. Okay, so image is your Java class. Now if you want to run your image, so container is the object, right? So image is your Java class, container is your object. So whenever you want to run your image, you have to use the container. Without using the container, you cannot run your image. So now the question is, someone will say that the multiple objects to create. Yes, we can do the same approach here. Can run container that we have a different containers available on our Docker platform. Okay, so whatever the different application that you want to run, you need to create that image and you need to run that image in their respective containers. You can see same app on a different containers as well. Let's say container 1 and container 2 having the same application as well. If it is required, if there are some business use case as well, then we can go in that approach as well. But in a general use case, we are not following that. Means one container running the application. So basically, yeah, image container is an instance of that image. Container is an object of that image. Consider in that way, so it will very helpful to understand the image and the containers. Okay, so we discuss about some of the part that we discuss about the containers and the virtual machine. So here we are going to discuss that what is the difference, exact difference between the containers and the virtual machine. So if you look at this slide from the right hand side, this slide is for the virtual machine. So on the infrastructure level, through that you can create your VMs, right? So there will be some examples like you may heard about the VMware, right? So using the VMware, you can create your VM, virtual machine. It will be a in that there will be some guest OS, so you can consider that the Windows or the Linux or any other CentOS. If you want to create, then you can also create using your VM. Now, when you are creating that VM, all obviously you need to provide. If you want to run your application, then you need to create the multiple VMs. Right now, there are different application is running, so you need to provide, as I discussed. So one resources infrastructure has to be that resources. Other will not, and you are okay. So in that case, the resources is wastage as well. If your VM is not proper. On the other side, if you have multiple applications, right, and running, then you do not need to create any guest OS. You do not need to create or provide any specific resources to run your application, right? You simply need to install the Docker and your application will be up and running. Compare container, you need to, okay. If you are creating the multiple VMs, so there will be some saturations level as well. Like you can, means a server has some limitations, right? A 30 GB RAM, so you can create the up to 10 or 12 VMs only, right? You cannot go beyond the 10 or 12 VMs, so that you can only deploy 10 or 12 applications at a time in your server. Otherwise, you need to bring the another new server and you can run your application. Right, but instead of that, if you are going into the container of application, you can utilize, and when the will utilize the resources, the and execution is destroyed, its life cycle is completed, then it will release the resources. Right, whatever the memory it has occupied, it will release them. Okay, so it is very helpful to the. Okay, so nowadays, which are the tech platforms, cloud platforms is using the Docker? So you can see in that image that Amazon Web Services is also using the Docker. DigitalOcean also, it is a cloud platform which is also using the Docker. Okay, and if you consider that it is very helpful for the microservices framework as well. Why I am saying this? Because when because suppose nowadays companies are moving to create their application into the of the Amazon, then Amazon e-commerce website. In that you can see, like you can if you want to buy any electronics item, you can go ahead. If you want to buy any clothes, if you want to buy any books, if you want to buy grocery on the Amazon e-commerce website, so that they have created the different microservices architecture. Okay, for one category, let's say there are 10 different categories. For the 10 different categories, they have created the 10 different microservices web service. Right now, the Docker will help us in that case. How the Docker will help? Because in your applications, if you have, let's say, consider that like an Amazon platform, they have 100 different microservices, so that 100 different containers that we are going to introduce, right? And in that case, out of 100, let's consider that may be a case that 1 or 2 containers is down, means 1 or 2 90 will be up and running, it will be not impacted, so that you can easily maintain your microservices architecture with the help of Docker. Because for each and every service, what we are going to do, that we are going to create the image, and that image will run on that containers, right? So it will very helpful in that terms, right? But if you are go with our monolithic approach, that we are not going with the microservice architecture and we are not going to use any Docker framework, then what happened? In that case, your any service is down, your application will be down, and there will be the huge loss, right? Because other, let's say if the grocery related microservice is down, but the other service is up and running, then someone can buy the laptops or mobile or any service. Application huge loss, right? So in that case, microservices with the Docker framework is approach. Okay. So this is the Docker with the CI/CD pipeline. So this is completely an automated process. So what do you mean by the CI and CD pipeline? So the CI/CD pipeline, it means that continuous integration, continuous development. So so the developer can develop the application and that can continuously be integrated and QA can continuously do the testing, right? So in that case, how the Docker, you look at this develop in a back. It is application and introduce the different frameworks. Okay, and that developer commit that application or their code onto the Git repository. Here is the Git repository, is a centralized repository where you can persist your code. Okay, instead of the Git, you can use the SVN repository as well, right? Now, what the Jenkins will do? Jenkins, again, that is a build tool. With the help of Docker, what the Jenkins will do? Jenkins will automatically create the image, having your all the dependency, your application, Git repositories code available. Okay, and whatever some system level tools or any other application for your application, some right, and then this image will be deployed on will be the register. We put this topic into a park because we will but consider that there is a Docker registry where now image deployed your application, and at the end that whatever that Azure cloud, Google cloud or Oracle cloud, any cloud, what you can image so that your application will be run. Continuous development, continuous because it is directly the Docker, the developer can develop, and with the help of this Docker, we can easily deploy it on an electric flow pipeline, or we can easily deploy on a cloud. Intervention is very less. Okay, so it is very helpful nowadays, and so that if you go with without the Docker, it won't be possible. First to to develop and create this kind of CI/CD pipeline. Okay, so now we are going to discuss about the Docker architecture. So if we discuss about the Docker architecture, then we need to understand about the Docker engine first. So what is the Docker engine? So if you look at the slide here, so Docker architectures is depend on client server architecture. So what do you mean by the client server architecture? So the client send the request for some of the commands or some of the service. On the entertain that request and provide. So in that we our main role to traverse from the client to the server and server to the client, we are using some web services. So it may be the RESTful web services, or it may be a SOAP web services, right? So here the client server architecture, here in the Docker is also following the client server architecture, where the Docker is using the RESTful API. So here in the client server architecture, the client Docker using the CLI. What do you mean by CLI? So CLI is a command level interface. So command level interface means that you need to type the commands that I want this image, I want to run that container, I want to push that image, I want to pull that image, or I want to take the data somewhere, right? So for that you need to give some command. So when you are giving the command, your REST API will read those commands, okay, and give it to the Docker daemon. Docker daemon is the Docker server, where the whatever that commands which is provided by the Docker client, it will be entertained and delivered based on that. So Docker will walk and manipulate and entertain those commands. The Docker. So here you can see that if you these are the Docker images or the Docker network. So Docker networks means what? That in the containers means there are multiple containers as well. So there may be a scenario that the one container communicate with the other container as well. So for that the network bridge established between the two containers, so that it can help using the Docker engine as well. Where the Docker volumes as well. Means if you want to persist your data, we can discuss that how to persist the data, right? Then in the Docker containers, and we can discuss on the later stage. But if you want to persist your data, just simply keep in mind that if you want to persist the data, you can persist your data okay. And if you want to run your containers, you can use this give the commands. And if you want to pull or push the image, or if you want to find any image, you can use that architecture. Okay. So now this is the Docker architecture, and it is very important to understand how the Docker works. Okay. So in that Docker architectures, there are the different components. One is the Docker client, one is the Docker host, and another is the Docker registry. Okay. So what do you mean by the Docker client? I think we discussed some of the part in the Docker client in the previous slide, that the Docker client will give us request to the Docker, right? Image of build the, okay, to Docker the ask for the Docker image, then it will go to the repository and get the image. If the image wants to run on their containers, then also the Docker daemon will run that respective image into their container. Use that here the I said like registry. So what do you mean by the registry? So the Docker registry means that whatever the image means that there are the public image and there are some private images as well. So what do you mean by the public image? So suppose if you want to run, if you want to install for your application, consider that you want to install the Ubuntu, right? That is a Linux platform, and only your application can run on the Ubuntu as well. Ubuntu only, sorry. So what you need to do, that first you need to deploy the Ubuntu image, and then only you can run your application, so that you can tell the Docker that you want to run, you want to install the Ubuntu. So how do you tell that? So you need to tell, so Docker, when you give the command, so Docker daemon will go to the Docker registry and it will pull the Ubuntu image and run into a container. Okay, so there are some public images available into the Docker Hub. Okay, so what do you mean by the Docker Hub? So Docker Hub is the public repository, cloud hosted repository, I can say, where there are some public repository available and the private repository is also available. So that the public repository means where you can use any open source images like the Ubuntu, MySQL, okay, or there are some other images as well. Windows image is also available, right? So whatever that open source tools images, that will be available into the your public repository. And there are some private repository as well, like for our applications. Our application, that is a web application that we discussed earlier. For that I need to make our application. We can create our private repository as well, okay, and we can push that image into the Docker Hub, so that whenever, as and when required, we can pull that image and we can run our application. So there are the public and the private repository available into the Docker Hub, so that we can use that as well. Apart from that, it is not necessary that you need to, if you want to persist any of your image of your application, then you need to use the Docker Hub only. You can use your local repository as well, like a Git or SVN. Through that also you can persist your image. But instead of telling the Docker daemon to go and get the image from the Docker Hub, you need to explicitly mention that you do not need to go to the Docker Hub. Instead of that, I will give my private repository that is available on the Git. You can go and provide your credential and it will get the image of your application as well, right? So that we can put the image and run that application. So in that case, ultimately we are using a 3 different layers. Through that 3 different layers, we can run our applications, and it is very easy to run, deploy our application. So whatever that architecture, like what already defined, Docker daemon using the API, Docker client also we discuss, right? So end user will contact the Docker client, and the Docker client will send the request to the Docker daemon using the Docker REST API and the Docker registry. In that also we discuss about the Docker Hub as well for the public and the private repository. Okay, so now we are going to discuss about the Docker image. So what do you mean by the Docker image? So the Docker image, so here you can see that for our applications that we create the Docker image, and we can deploy that Docker image to the Docker container, right? But there is one more part, is the Docker file. Oh, that part we never discussed, right? So what is the Docker file? And file will be, that's a new thing, right? So what happened in that case? So basically, whenever you are any available on a public repository, it means that it is available on the Docker Hub, whether it is a MySQL developer or Postgres database image, or whether it is a Ubuntu image, any damn image which is available on the public repository. For that you do not need to create the Docker file, because the Docker file is already available on the Docker Hub, and you simply need to run the image into the Docker container. But for your applications, for your customized application, for your customized web application that we discussed earlier, for that you need a Docker file to create the Docker image. Okay, so what we are going to do in a Docker file to create the Docker image, because Docker image is a binary file, we cannot read that Docker image, but Docker, we want a Docker. Okay, so Docker file is a template. We utilize that template to create the Docker image. So what will be in the Docker file? So the Docker file is a text document. Provide your set of commands. Okay, you can assemble that to image. You can put that Docker file also on the GitHub to every time create your image. So the Docker file is having a set of instructions that you can easily construct your Docker image, and whatever that commands you are giving into your Docker files, it will be considered as the Docker file, right? We can utilize that separate layers to create the Docker image. So what are those separate layers and what is the Docker file? We need to understand how we can create the Docker file. Okay, so if you look at this example, this is one of the sample of the Docker file. So if you go, there are some of the commands I have included which will help you to create the Docker file, and we can easily understand the Docker file. First command, if you can see J by so that. So if it is our web application, then for the web application we require the JDK. Okay. So what in our image, if means our application is not running without the Java. So our base image we need to create the Java image, because the Java image is the open source image and it is available. So for my application image, I say that whatever that base Java image I can import in my customized image, right? So I can mention in my doc. Use that Java JDK 8 image. Now someone will mention like, okay, in future if someone wants to update or if you want to understand, you can provide the maintainer name or the label. So here I have mentioned my name Jaladi Dave as a Docker image. Someone mention as well. It's very simple. Now we can use the environmental variable. Means in our application also we are setting some environmental variables, right? So what are the, so in the same way, if you want to maintain your environmental variables, the Docker file, you can maintain that environmental variable so that your image will run easily. Okay. So this is a working directory. When your that use that working directory as well. Okay, you can copy that application home into your copy command. So what do you mean by that? That when you are running your image, some of the files or some of the data that you want to include in your file, the image, right? File means image. So copy X the Gradle view. So what it is like that is a Linux command. So if you want to run your Linux machine, right? So you can use that command. Instead of that, if you want to run your image on the Windows, you can provide that Windows command as well. So we can execute that the Gradle again Gradle with the this is a volume command. So what the volume command we are doing, that want to earlier we discussed, right? You want to persist some of the data which is available in your container. So if you want to persist your to store that data somewhere in your local directory as well. So how we can do it? So for that you also need to mention the volume and you need to provide some directory path as well. So when your application is running, that you need to expose your container. Your application will be running up and running on some of the port as well, right? So that you want to expose your application on will be running on X or Y port. So here I have mentioned that your expose you can and this is the entry point. So the entry point when your container will start, from the what entry point it will be starting. So that the entry point you need to mention, like first you need to run your Java file and then you need to provide the other set of the commands, right? So what will be the entry point, that also you can mention in your Docker. Using that template you can create your image. Once the image is created, then that image will be run on your container. Okay, so what will be the Docker command? Okay, so that when we are running the Docker command sorry, so Docker command will run, where we discussed, right? The Docker command will run on the Docker CLI, command line argument. Version just suppose if you want to pull the image from your registry, so you can provide the images. Then if you want to push or pull the image, just provide the your registry path. You can push or pull your image. Okay, if you want to run your container, if you want to create or commit something on your container, you can also use that container. Suppose the container, then whatever the specific image you want to run, then you need to provide that image ID so that you can run your image into your container. If you want to start, stop, wait the container or resume the, you can use that command. Sorry, if you want to build your image using the Docker file, so you need to provide your Docker file path and provide the build command, so the image will be created. And suppose if that image, if you want to store, yes, we can put that image or pull that Docker, that image into our local server as well or local path as well. Then you can also save or load that image into your Docker command. So these are the Docker commands which help you to run your Docker, right? Now these are the orchestration part. So what do you mean by the orchestration? Suppose as we discussed in the earlier slide that the Docker will run on the different containers. Now if the Docker is running on the different containers, then there may be a case that you need to maintain your Docker. You need to maintain the Docker means that sometimes the Docker is not running. So how do you know that? You need to up and running. You need to scale up and scale down your containers, right? You need to automatically manage your containers. You want to, if the some container is down, how do you maintain that, right? So for that, there are some orchestration tool as well. Life cycle of the containers, or containers up and running, containers down, then you need to remove those containers. You need to verify the logs of the containers. If you need to continuously check the health of the containers, right? So for that, the orchestration tools will be required. So those orchestration tool, if you integrate with your Docker, then you can easily maintain your Docker. You can easily manage and maintain your life cycle of the Docker, so that you will be relaxed if you have configured the orchestration. Sometimes the orchestration will send the alert as well if your Docker is down, right? So how can we configure the orchestration tool along with the Docker? So for that, there are the multiple tools as well. The tools are you can check is the Docker Swarm, Kubernetes, Mesos, right? Amazon ECS. It is also in very much use. That ECS means the Elastic Cloud Service, Amazon service is available, and the Google container. But nowadays, most of the people are using Kubernetes, Amazon. You can as well. Amazon service as well, Amazon EKS, Amazon Elastic Kubernetes service, or Amazon container service as well. So you can use that services or configure that services as well with your application. So you can maintain your orchestration part of your Docker containers, right? And the Docker Swarm is also in a use, but nowadays the Kubernetes and the ECS is used very frequently in a different companies as well. Now earlier we discussed that if we want to persist the data, how do we persist the data? So if you want to persist the data, we can go and use the different layers of the containers. So what are those different layers? So we can use the volumes, we can use the bind mounts, and we can use the TMP FS storage. So these are the different storages available. So what is the difference between this storage, right? So whenever you are using the volumes in the container, then this you want to store, right? It cannot be shared by the any other containers. Means that applications, if you want to let's say if you are running your application and that if you want to store that the data into your container using the volumes, then it cannot be shared by the, or it cannot be used by the any other containers, right? It can only be used, right? It can be used by, sorry, that containers only. You can write that data into the file system as well using that volumes, right? But instead of that, if you go with the bind mount, then it can be utilized by the any other application as well. Means any other container can utilize that data and be private. So happen can be sometimes. So in that case, the bind. But if there are some business use case where you need to go and use the data by any other applications which are available in the container, then you can go with the bind mounts as well. The another is the TMP-FS, where the TMP-FS means the data will available in memory space, right? You can file system, but the in memory space is not a frequently used. When you have very less data, you can go with the in memory space. Or what happened, like that some issues are coming, then you can go and in memory space data as well. But most of the time people are going to use about the volumes, okay, or they can go with the bind mounts data based on the based on the different use cases also. And one more thing, like when you are using the containers, when your container is start running, you can store that data. When the container stop, then also the data will persist. When you resume your container, then also the data will be available. But your container, the data. So in that case, suppose your container, if you want to check what will be the data while my container is running, so that volume you the file. Destroying the container also, if you want to get the data, you can easily get the data. I'm saying like the volume is the vast use to persist the data. Okay, so I'm done with the presentations. If you have any question, please you can ask. Over to you, Bridges or Kalpesh.
Yes, there is one question.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
We can analyze the memory usage in virtual machines. It is possible to analyze the memory usage of Docker?
Yeah, that we can do. So I can in the previous slide we discussed about the orchestration tool, right? So in the orchestration tools also we the memory analyzer as well, right? So that tool will help us, like when your container is having a different multiple containers, means your Docker is having a multiple containers, and at that time you want to use that X container is using the n number of memories, or Y container is using the multiple memories, right? So if you want to down that containers or up that containers, you can analyze that using the orchestration tool, and that facility is available in the orchestration tool. But for that, you have to configure this orchestration tool into your Docker. I hope I can give the answer of your question.
Thank you.
I want to ask one thing.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
There is one slide in that you mentioned that CI/CD pipeline.
Yes.
Okay, so just I want to ask that what do you mean by electric flow in CI/CD?
Okay. So electric flow means what? Like basically when we are running in applications, right? So the electric flow pipeline is the use, like you can configure your different environment. In the starting of our presentation, we discussed that we have a different environments. So that the development environments, the QA environments, that the UAT environments, and then the production environments. So we can configure the different environments, okay, into your electric flow pipeline, and we can deploy that images in all the different environments. So through that, so there will be a no manual intervention when you are doing this kind of activity. And when you have an image as well, so you can deploy that image into the different environments. Through that, you can easily configure the electric flow pipeline, and once the QA completed that development and that image into the dev environment, and it can easily traverse through the other environment using a simple click. Once the QA completed that testing, QA needs to click on that, it can move to the another environment. So in that case, we do not need to do, just we need to simply click after completing our process. It can move and travels, and we can easily deploy it on a production using a simple clicks only. So it is very helpful when your application will traverse from the developer machine to the production machine.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. Okay, so is there any other question?
No question. I received only one, and Kiran received only one question.
Okay, no problem.
Kiran sir, we need to share.
Yes, sir, will share the certificate with you. So just want to give that. Thank you very much, Dave sir, for your valuable time and to brief about some new knowledge that is Docker in Java. So thank you very much for your valuable time. And also on behalf of Parul University and our presentation, that is Mr. Dave Jaldi, thank you everyone for joining us today, and have a great rest of your day. So thank you very much, and thank you, Dave sir, for your valuable time.
Thank you. It's been a great pleasure and privilege to present this kind of technology with everyone, in front of everyone. Thank you. So I'll stop my sharing now.
Yes, you can.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone. Goodbye.
Thank you, sir.